That'll get everyone's attention. Meanwhile, back in the fantasy world, it's officially announced that the UK's public debt is 903 billion, but it's really 3.8 trillion. Now, we need somebody that can lose that debt. So where the hell is Donald Rumsfeld when you need him? But in the paper, in that article, it said the true scale of Britain's national indebtedness was laid bare by the Office for National Statistics yesterday, almost 4 trillion. But take a look at this. This is brilliant. The debt for the as yet unborn will leave future taxpayers with an additional burden of £200,000 each over their lifetimes to pay for the public services enjoyed by this and previous generations. So if you're thinking of incarnating, think again. Until the Federal Reserve and the Bank of England is shut down. Now, Jason started to talk this morning about, this change of an age. And everything that's happening, let me tell you, it's great. It's absolutely wonderful. The tragedy is that people just aren't waking up quick enough. And this was exactly the conversation I had with the Laker. They said, look, basically, everything that's occurring, look at it. If it's in your personal life, you learn most when you're impacted by very serious trauma. Provided you take the opportunity to reflect on that trauma, reflect on that experience, and reflect on how your behavior contributed to bringing about that situation, there's tremendous learning. But if you don't, guess what? You're going to have to go do it all over again. Well, we're in the same situation here. Everyone's telling us, my God, it's the end of an age. The signs are all there. Everything's in meltdown. Everything's collapsing. And we have an opportunity, which basically means that we can just let it all happen. Oh, yeah. Nice. Yeah. And I get so many emails from people saying, oh, I just don't give it any negative energy. I'm holding the space. Well, you know what? I can hold my own frickin' space. These are the tools that these guys rely on. Apathy, willful ignorance, and the most powerful for these guys, abdication. Because in the occult realm, that means abdication means we know what they're doing, but we choose to ignore it. We actually have to get off our butts. Yes, as Jason said, we do need to sort of, go through that period where we're in the cave, in the monastery, or whatever it is. We go through that period of reflection, the process of metanoia. But then the challenge is to use the knowledge, the wisdom, the insight that we've gained in that period and look at how we can contribute that to changing what's occurring right here. Because how I got into Volodol's work in the first place was some years ago. I came up with the realization that, it was clear that things were changing. I mean, I'm not the same person as I was when I was a corporate whore 10 years ago, 12 years ago. Well, some might argue, I suppose. And so many people are changing. So many people have a completely different outlook on life. They're realizing that consumerist materialism just doesn't cut it. Zbigniew Brzezinski, just a couple of months ago, not even, when he was at the Bilderberger meeting in Sitges in Spain, said one of the challenges for the New World Order is the rapid political awakening of the masses. Now, 40 years ago, when he wrote a book called Between Two Ages, in that book, he said one of the challenges for future Western governments is to keep people locked into consumerist materialism, preventing them from realizing who they truly are. So these guys know what's going on. But it's the Ahriman versus Lucifer, as was so well articulated by Jason. But one of the other factors that the Laker shared with me, and again, I can't guarantee that this isn't adulterated from other inputs, but they said, the solar flares that are coming, the solar storms that are coming in 2012, which our scientists have said could fry the grid, could take down the electricity networks, could take down the internet, take down the phone networks, which means that you can't get your money out the machines and you can't get in contact. Well, maybe we don't need them after that. Maybe they become redundant because the Laker suggests that it is the solar storms which will actually trigger the awakening of that dormant junk DNA and will give us the opportunity to return to our full potential, the potential which they believe that we always had, but then was removed from us. And they believe this is the opportunity to return to it. So, but we have the opportunity to contribute to that. If we sit around and wait for it to happen, guess what? It probably won't happen. We've actually got to, I think, take the initiative. And I get the sense that every time somebody else says, yes, I'm actually going to do something, it's like somebody from the other realm says, okay, another one signed up, that's another one in. And so we're matched. It's a bit like those charities that say, they'll match pound for pound. Well, I think we get matched resource for resource from the other realms. So the more people that are contributing, the more help we get. I know I get a lot of help in what I do, that's for sure. Very opportune that Jason should introduce Steiner's work this morning. A wonderful quote from Steiner. He says, "He who would create the new must be able to endure the passing of the old in full tranquility." In full tranquility. So consider that everything we learn when we go through the traumas, whether it's personal on the micro level or whether it's macro, i.e. on the national or global level, but every time we go through the trauma, we have an opportunity to learn how we deal with it. And we can actually step back from the drama, because these guys want to keep us locked into the drama. Whereas in reality, the best thing we can do is take a pace back and just say, okay, get on with it. Come on, let's move forward. That's how the Soviet Union collapsed, because they'd lost the hearts and minds of the people. The people were just getting on with their lives regardless of what was going on at government level. We need to be doing the same. We need to be taking care of how it is that we want to see the world unfold and start making contributions. Now, an interesting thing about the Leica as well, though, is that they said, we have an opportunity to contribute that on multiple levels. Yes, it's important that we are making a physical contribution to raising awareness as to what's occurring, but we can also contribute in the other realms. And in particular, we can dream the world. We can dream the world that we want to see into being. And they believe that that's a big part of what they're doing. Their physical part is raising awareness by devoting themselves to raising the awareness amongst the Western people that come and spend time with them in the Andes. But then the work they do in the other realms is dreaming the world they want to see come into play. So on that point, I'm going to say, look, we have some choices. We have some very, very important choices. And I'm going to close with the same quote that I gave on this stage 5 years ago when I gave a presentation entitled The 9/11/77 Connection. And it's a quote from Marcus Aurelius. He said, "What we do in life ripples through eternity." Thanks very much. I've got time, 1 minute.
Half a minute. Thank you, Ian.
Okay. Okay, Sheila's told me I've got half a minute left. I want to just pick up on that element from the Leica. Okay? I absolutely and unequivocally accept that I get a lot of help in the work I do. I don't have to understand the technology. If I wasted my time trying to understand the technology, I wouldn't be actually sort of making progress. So I just accept the help. And I want you to take the opportunity and just close your eyes. If you don't want to close your eyes, watch the screen. But just as we play this piece of music, just close your eyes and dream. Dream the world that you want to see. It's not the only thing I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to go away and think how you can make a practical contribution. But for the next few seconds, dream the world you want to see.